Hello collectors and welcome to another review. This time I will be taking a look at the first series of Godzilla Minimates. This box set features Godzilla, Titanosaurus, Gigan, and Mothra. This set has piqued the interest of many collectors, so let's take a look and see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. First up, I will be taking a look at the King of the Monsters, Godzilla. As you can see here, the newly sculpted parts from the Minimates body, it looks pretty solid for the price point, and you can see all the cracks and ridges in Godzilla here, and you can see that there are dimples in the plastic for the dorsal plates, which is a very nice touch. It really does show that there was care put into this sculpt overall. And you can see the underside of the tail here, which wasn't ignored. So overall, I would say that the sculpt is pretty sweet. Focusing in on the paint now, you can see it's rather average. Godzilla has a typical cream-like color for the dorsal plates, the teeth, the nails on the hands and the feet, and the detailing which is found on the arms and the legs, it's all black paint, or might be a stencil or decal or some kind. Anyway, it's something to that effect. Now, mine isn't the cleanest in the world. As you can see here, there is some paint slop here and there and bleed over, especially on the toes. And the dorsal plates aren't exactly foolproof. Looks like the paint wasn't applied totally, but it's really not that big of an issue. But for me, one of the issues is that on the shoulder here, yeah, that's a paint chip of some kind. Now, though mine may not necessarily be the cleanest in the world, for the price point, it's pretty much forgivable. And here is a nice look at the face, where you can see Godzilla definitely does look a little bit goofy, but really it just adds to the overall charm of this Minimate. Now, moving on to the articulation, it's pretty much standard for a Minimate, as he, Titanosaurus, and Gigan basically follow the same format, which is all of the newly sculpted parts are actually a sleeve over the Minimate's body. So, you know exactly what to expect out of these guys if you already have other Minimates. You get a swivel neck, as you can see here. You got ball-jointed shoulders. Move around pretty well. You have swivel elbows, as you can see. Wrists are on swivels. They come apart real easily if you want them to. Waist features a swivel, as you can see here. Hips are on a ball joint, and surprisingly, the newly sculpted parts don't really block the thighs from moving up too far, as you can see here. But if you want Godzilla's leg to go out straight, well, you're not going to be able to do that, but that's okay. Knees, they're on that hinge, as you would come to expect from a Minimate, and the ankles are on ball joints, so if you want to spin the foot around just a tad, or all the way around, you can definitely do that. Last up, Godzilla and all of the other figures in this set each come with their own circular base for support, as you can see right here. And this circular base is found with Gigan and Titanosaurus. Mothra has her own, but it is a little bit different than this. It's made specifically for Mothra. So overall, Godzilla is pretty nice, though there are some issues with the paint. Godzilla definitely isn't my favorite one from this set, but it is a nice representation of the king in this format. Up next, we have Titanosaurus, which many find to be a favorite. Once again, the newly sculpted parts for Titanosaurus look very nice, so there are bumps all over him, and the arms and the legs feature paint applications or decals, whatever, in place of the actual physical detailing very similar to Godzilla. The tail looks pretty slick in this open position, as you can see here. The detailing is pretty nice, and so is the back fin. Here's a look at his head, where you might be able to notice there is a sculpt mark for the pupils, but there's no paint for them. I think that's something they missed in the factory. Anyway, the paint for the rest of Titanosaurus is pretty solid, though the paint for the nails on the hands and the toes, it's pretty sloppy. Just like right there, you can see that there's a huge paint bleed on Titanosaurus's right hand there. And there is a little bit of a paint issue on the toes. But luckily, it's pretty much just only on the underside, as you can see here, so it's not that big of an issue. But if you're an absolute perfectionist, well, hopefully it won't be too bad for you. Articulation is pretty similar to Godzilla. You have a swivel neck here. You can see you can spin Titanosaurus' head around. Ball-jointed shoulders. Swivel elbows. Swivel wrists, because they can pop out. You have a waist swivel. Can't get too much movement out of it, but hey, it's there. Hips, ball joint. So you're going to be able to spin them around and move them in different directions. Knees, hinge, you can see there. And then the ankles are ball jointed. So you can spin the feet around if you want to. So in the end, does Titanosaurus have some issues? Yes. Especially the lack of pupils. That's a pretty large one to me. But overall, I think Titano works very well in the Minimates format. And the small issues, realistically speaking, they can totally be forgiven. And they're not major enough to me to ruin this figure. So if you're a fan of Titanosaurus, you should definitely be pleased with the Minimate. Third in line, we have my personal favorite of the set, the green space chicken, Gigan. Admittedly, it does look a little pudgy, but it does add some charm to the figure overall. You can see the scales are sculpted very, very well here. It's actually pretty impressive in hand, and the back sails are pretty nice. They have some surprising detail, and the tail is pretty nice too, and as you can see, there are nice and pointy spikes on there with a silver tip. It's pretty sweet. And here's a look at the face of Gigan. Nicely done. And as you can see, there's really no paint issues with this clucker that should be mentioned. The silvers are nice and bright and eye-catching. The gold is brilliant. It shimmers well. The green is a nice touch. Yeah, Gigan's pretty nifty. The only complaint I would have is that his hooks, they are pointed up right out of the package. And as you can see here, you may think, well, they come apart. It's not that big of a deal. You can swivel them around. But they were actually stuck on mine. So if you really can't get them to move around, just keep trying. You will eventually get them to flip over. Moving on to the articulation, it's pretty much what you've seen so far. The neck is on a swivel, as you can see here. Shoulders are on a ball joint. Yep. Swivels for the elbows. Hooks, they are on a swivel, as you can see here. Spin around entirely, so there's no restriction there. Again, as I showed you before, if they're stuck, keep on them. You'll eventually pop them out. If you need to, just heat them up. Waist, we have a swivel, so you can spin Gigan around like so. Hips, feature ball joint, as you would expect. Here, though, yeah, the sleeve over the Minimate's body does come into play a little bit. You can't really get the leg up too high, but that's okay. Knees, hinge, ankles, ball joint. Though not my favorite kaiju, Gigan is definitely my favorite Minimate of this set. I really like it a lot, and it's very, very easy to see why. Clean paint, solid articulation, the works. Gigan's got it all. Last but not least, we have Mothra. Mothra is quite the goober here with this face, which does make her feel a little cutesy. And going back to the abdomen here, the other side of Mothra, we have a pretty nice sculpt. As you can see, there's little divots here, so on and so forth. Very nicely done. There's a lot of care which was put into this. Now, the paint overall on Mothra is pretty nice, but there's only one issue I have. First, we need to get a look at the detailing. And I'm going to start right here with the back. No sculpt here on her back. It's all paint and decals or whatever it may be. And it's all nice and crisp. I'm very pleased with this. And then next, as you can clearly see here, the wings. These are beautiful. Stunning. This, what would it come out to be? $5 little knick-knack toy has better, cleaner paint detailings on the wings than the $65 SH Monster Arts Batra. Yeah, that's telling. Anyway, the one part where it does flub a little bit for me that I made mention earlier would be the antenna. The E left and the right one. Yeah, only half painted. Bummer, but, you know, that's just something I can fix on my own. And then last up, we have these metallic blue eyes. Very, very nice in hand. Moving on to the articulation, Mothra actually does utilize the Minimate's body, at least a part of it. Let me explain. First, we come back here to the abdomen, which swivels around, as you can see here. Twists and it turns. The wings have a joint where the shoulder would be. Ball joint. They come separate in the package. You just have to pop them on. super easy to do. And then we have the neck joint. Show you down here. Ball joint. So you can move Mothra's head around, like so, in all sorts of directions. Now watch this. Mothra's head spins around. Now this brown part here, which would be the standard Minimate head, doesn't move. So yeah, that's pretty nifty. I do admire the engineering on their part for Mothra here. That's quite clever. And last up, on the underside of Mothra, you can see there's this little hole, which is for this special display stand that I've been showing with Mothra in pretty much all of the shots of her. Overall, she's pretty nifty and a much, much, much welcomed addition into the series. I really, really like her. Now, if you've been paying close attention to the joints on all of the different Minimates here, you'll notice that they're pretty much just basic swivels. Now, a unique feature with these Minimates is that you can swap out the different parts, so this way you can create your own Frankenstein-like kaiju. So if you're really creative, you can definitely come up with some interesting kaiju combinations. Now, to a lot of folks, size does matter, and I will be more than happy to help you figure out exactly how big these Minimates are. Here are the Minimates alongside some of the chibi figures from Bandai America, some SD figures from Bandai Japan, and of course, what minifigure comparison would be complete without a comparison to some Bandai Gashapons. Here are the Minimates alongside the much, much larger Bandai America Tokyo Vinyl Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. And then, as a just-for-fun size comparison, here are the Minimates alongside the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1995 Birth version. So, the Minimates, they are small, roughly in the 2 to 3 inch region for size. So, if you want to clear out some shelf space, you have a pretty good idea with this size comparison. When it's all said and done, for about $20 the set feels, I would say, rather right. There are some lacking points, such as some paint slop here and there, or missing paint altogether, but it's mostly forgivable. With the promise of a second set and the potential for more to come, I recommend this set to anyone, whether it's Godzilla or Minimate collectors in general.